so the first thing is intelligence. Look, we want people who are smart in our program. And how do we determine if someone's smart? Well, look, GMAT and GRE are intelligence tests. Of course, your college GPA matters. We're looking at the university you attended, of course. As we know, some universities are better and harder to get into than others. Or maybe the major and the courses you took in college. You know, they're going to look at your transcript to see if you challenged yourself. So did you take difficult courses or research projects? And we're just measuring your intelligence through the interview performance. So here are all the ways for us to decide whether we think you're an intelligent person, okay? Now, this is especially important for MBA programmers. You really need a lot of work experience for MBA. For a lot of MS programs, you don't need work experience. But maybe some work experience would be a benefit, okay? But anyway, if we're evaluating your professional experience, how do we evaluate it, whether it's really, really solid or just average? Well, we're looking at the company you work for. Of course, you know, the more famous, the more competitive, the better. The job, the function. Did you have any management, project management, or leadership experience? What achievements or impacts did you have in your job? Were you promoted? Or even if you weren't promoted, were you given increased responsibility at maybe a faster rate than usual? Or what did you learn? What skills did you enhance? Or were any of your work experiences international? So we're going to look at all of these things to decide whether we think your professional experience is solid or just average or relatively weak. Like I said, this is more important for MBA. However, so a lot of MS programs would still like to see some solid experience, even if it's just 1 year or even if it's just a couple of really good internships. It's going to definitely be an advantage for you. Okay. What's next? International experience. Now, look, not everyone has a lot of international experience, but it's just a plus. You're going to this graduate program. Most of them are filled with students from many countries. And we want to feel confident that you can fit in. We want to feel that you have the ability to interact with people from different countries. So if you've lived abroad, studied abroad, worked abroad, or even if you didn't go abroad, collaborated with any foreigners, even in your home country, in Taiwan, that's a very positive thing. Now, don't panic if you don't have much international experience. It doesn't mean you're automatically rejected. What I'm just saying is this is something they look for. It's a plus if you have it. And that's what I said at the beginning. You don't have to be perfect in every category. You just need to have more pluses than minuses, okay? So international experience, a big plus. Communication ability, an absolute must, because graduate school is typically more interactive than undergraduate. You are typically going to need to get involved in more projects. You'll be called on to speak in class, of course, in English. You may have more presentations. So luckily, Cathy is here to help you with your TOEFL speaking score. When we look at the TOEFL test, we're looking at the TOEFL speaking section and putting the most weight on that, on the output, especially writing and speaking. So really focus on your TOEFL speaking, okay? Of course, it's probably going to be lower than your reading score, but we just need to make sure it's not too low, okay? So now that we know how the admissions committee is going to evaluate you, let's think about what can I do to increase my chance of acceptance, because obviously that's what we want. Number one, okay, for your professional experience, let's assume that you're working full-time now. Well, maybe you're not applying for another year or at least 6 months. Is it possible for you to get a better job? I think that's a pretty obvious thing to upgrade your professional experience. Now, if you're going to be applying 3 months from now, I think it's a little bit late for that, right? But okay, but I know I'm applying to a very competitive program. Maybe I'm going to look for a more competitive job. Okay, but that's not easy, right? But let's just say you're going to stay at your current company. But what can you do? Well, maybe you think, I haven't had any international experience in this job. And maybe I think there's an opportunity to work on a project with colleagues from another country or with a foreign client. Or how about communication skills? I already told you guys, you got to listen to Cathy, You need to really improve the speaking section. Of course, you're going to improve your overall English. And it's not just to get a high TOEFL score. Look, you need a high TOEFL score. The higher the score, the better your chance of admission. But that's just very short-term thinking. Your real goal is to prepare yourself to live in the US or England or wherever you're going to live, so that you can talk to people, so that you can interview for those internships, so that you can start living your life there. So the TOEFL is just the short-term goal, but what you're really trying to do is improve your overall English ability. The better it is, the better chance you're going to have to get in this program and then succeed in your job search. So, of course, focus on your TOEFL speaking, but also focus on your interview skills. A lot of graduate school programs do interviews, and I think a lot of people kind of wait to the last minute to start prepping for the interview. Kind of creeps up on them quickly, like they submit the application. 2 weeks later, they receive an interview invitation, and then the interview happens 1 week later, and they started, preparing for that interview with 1 week left. It's a little bit late. So I usually encourage our clients to start preparing for the interview early as we go through the application and we're writing essays. We're also discussing interview questions. We're starting to practice early, which I think is very, very important because it's really the hardest part. Once you get to that point where you need to do a 30 to 45-minute interview with a native speaker, you may have never done that before. Of course, you're going to be nervous. So that's something that you need more than just a few days to prepare for. So prepare early. Okay, now I've done two things. I've analyzed and thought about what's the admissions committee looking for. Now I've analyzed my weaknesses and I've made some improvements. So I've improved my profile. Now it's time to apply that. I really have to just sit down and finish my application. So I suggest that for this last stage, you think about how you're going to position yourself. And positioning yourself is a way of marketing yourself. Or in other words, creating your strategy for the application. Okay. So for example, I'm going to apply to MBA programs, and perhaps my target is Duke University. So I'm going to analyze this target. I'm going to talk to a student. I'm going to talk to an alumni. Okay, and here's what I've learned about this school. They really have this collaborative team spirit, maybe more than other business schools. They really, really value people with community service and social impact experience. And they really like these type of outgoing people with very strong soft skills. Okay, that's helpful. Now I know what Duke prefers. Now I can kind of build my strategy around that. I'm going to try to convince them I have some of these abilities. How about the next one? So first, I've analyzed my target. Next, I'm going to analyze myself, and I'm going to think, what type of skills do MBA and MS programs want? Well, I think they want people who are analytical, communicators, leaders, who are team players, who are creative. And look, you're not going to be strong in all of these categories, but just think of the ones where you are strong and build your strategy around that. Maybe I think I'm particularly strong in leadership. I'm particularly adaptable. Maybe those are my two strengths. So I'm going to build my strategy around my strengths. And the last slide is, hey, feel free to scan this to go to our free consultation form. We're happy to give a free 20-minute consultation to anyone that fills it out. So get on our website, transcendadmissions.com. You can upload your resume, and we just ask you a few questions. And we'd be happy to answer questions you have about graduate school or strategy or whatever. So don't be shy. And we have consultants. I can speak some Chinese. It's not bad, but we do have Chinese speaking consultants. So don't be shy. Even if your English you're not confident in your English, or you're really not ready for that, don't worry. We're very friendly. I'm happy to speak with you.